Another Watergate, this is referencing the Epstein files. It took 2 years to oust Nixon. We are just at the beginning. I don't know why TikTok censored that last word. I've seen a number of people expressing this sentiment over the last few weeks, like, hey y'all, we're just at the start of this. And I think that's something that I tried to convey early in the year when people were still saying like, oh, Kamala Harris is going to be installed as president, or Donald Trump is going to be removed through impeachment of the 25th Amendment. I was like, no, that's none of that is happening. That this is a long process and there is no quick way out of this. There is no quick fix. There's no, as much as we would yearn for it, as much as we would very naively hope for it, as much magical thinking as we're engaged in, hoping that we will wake up and this awfulness will all be ended. This is a problem decades in the making, and it will take an awful long time to dig out. But lately I've been seeing more people talking about how they think that the Epstein files are actually going to be an investigation that's going to yield some fruit. There actually will be justice for what Trump is doing, not just with the Epstein files, but also, with bombing the drug smuggling boats or any of the other numerous impeachable offenses and crimes he's committing. But I also at the same time understand the low level of confidence that the American people have, because after all, we watched 4 years of Joe Biden where there was virtually no accountability. Yeah, sure, Donald Trump got convicted of 34 felonies, but what's he doing right now? How did that work out? We watched the January 6th commission. People lose their career. Like Adam Kinzinger lost his job. Liz Cheney, for however much you may dislike her, she put her career on the line and lost in order to do what she thought was advocating for justice. But what justice actually came out of that? It was a lot of like wishy-washy, well, we don't really, it was a bunch of Merrick Garland pussyfooting around. At the same time, there were Supreme Court reforms that Joe Biden and Democrats could have enacted, and they chose not to. There were all kinds of things that could have been done, but there wasn't even really a sense that there were thorough investigations or any kind of dogged pursuit of justice, any kind of tenacious desire to uphold the law and get justice for the American people for the insurrection on January 6th and Trump's numerous other offenses. We just watched it all kind of like fizzle, right? So I understand why there is a low level of hope. There's a low level of optimism that any of our elected officials will do anything in the post-Trump era, which is one of the reasons that I'm constantly talking about how we have to set the expectation. We, the American people, must demand nothing less than justice and accountability. I don't think that we did a really good job of doing that during the Biden years, because honestly, our elected officials, y'all, they're not really leaders. None of them are saviors. They are just a tool that we can leverage. They have been lent a measure of power by us, the people, and they're supposed to govern on our behalf. They're not actually our leaders and our rulers. They're supposed to be our public servants. We have to remember that the power ultimately lies with us. So we must demand justice. We must demand accountability from our elected officials. There must be congressional investigations. The Department of Justice must investigate and bring charges. There must be prosecutions for the crimes that are being committed. Now, there cannot be any kind of like post-Civil War sweep this under the rug in the name of like unity. Americans have very little ability to handle distress. We have very poor capability to actually handle conflict in a healthy way, and I think that is an impediment to us getting justice. People don't want to take political risks. People don't want to do what is required of them to get justice, and so it is up to us, the American people, to push those folks. And we have to start right now and say we will, in the primaries for 2026 and the general election for 2026, we will accept nothing less than candidates who are running on an anti-corruption platform and who are going to demand justice, going to work for and fight for justice. And we need to be asking them, what will that look like? Describe to me in detail what your plan is to end Citizens United, to get dark money, corporate money, foreign money out of our politics, to make sure that our elected officials work for us, the people. What is your step-by-step plan to get accountability for what ICE, all of the members of the Trump regime, are doing right now? And not only that, but hey, candidate, what is your plan? What does it look like for you when you think about justice for all of the collaborators with this regime? Because there are so many times in history where like everybody just wants to move on and there is no justice, and therefore the patterns get repeated. And I'm not somebody who's vindictive. I'm somebody who believes very much in restorative justice. I want to hear from anybody who wants a position of authority, who wants to be trusted with our little measures of power. I want to hear from them. What does that look like? What does justice look like? What is the process that you are going to lay out? Because you have to be envisioning that now. Because look at the Biden years, slow rolling. They knew what Donald Trump had done during his 4 years in office. They knew what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. And it was just this long, protracted, slow roll. We have to show deference for the office of the president, not deference for the American people, the folks who actually have the power, the folks we actually should be worried about. No, it's the deference for the office of the president. It's justice denied because we're going to slow roll because we don't want to take any political hits. And I will unapologetically say every time I talk about this, I will never forgive Merrick Garland. Jack Smith was out, was it today, where he was saying like he would prosecute Donald Trump all over again. He wants his testimony released to the public. Wasn't Jack Smith's fault that he was brought in at the 11th hour with absolutely no ability to do the kinds of things he needed to do. He was hemmed and hamstringed from all sides. I don't think we should ever condition our vote for an elected official in the general election when the choices are run-of-the-mill, bureaucratic, establishment Democrat, or literal fascist, right? We have to focus on harm reduction and voting for the options that are in front of us instead of the ones we magically envision in our... We have to be pragmatic. We cannot engage in magical thinking. We have to operate in the real world. And the places where we have the most power to enact change are in the primaries. And likewise, the places that we have the ability to enact the most change are when we come together, when we aggregate our power, when we operate collectively, we exercise our will, we make sure that those who are in elected office, those who are in power, that they realize that it's us who is taking back our power. We loaned that power to them and we are taking it back. They are afraid of us when we come together. We are multitude. There are millions and millions and millions of us, but we are so disconnected. We have such a lack of unity right now. We're so dispersed. We're too busy bickering amongst ourselves, hating each other. They're not worried about us at all. So for me, when I hear this, another Watergate, it took 2 years to oust Nixon. Yes, we need to set this expectation of like, of course you're going to investigate. Of course you're going to prosecute. You're not going to do us dirty like you did during the Biden years. We're not going to accept that. We have to all set the expectation and be like, you need to fear the consequences if you don't live up to what we need, if you do not bring justice. Because I know it's exhausting. I wish we could just trust those who are elected to represent us to actually do their job, to actually work, to actually put the future of democracy ahead of their own job, their own political power, their own comfort, their own wealth, but rarely will they do that. So we have to drag them kicking and screaming to do the right thing. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. We have to come together. We have to use our power. I know it would be really nice if they would do their fucking jobs and we didn't have to push and shove and drag and pull them every direction that they need to move in. I wish it felt like they were our allies instead of an impediment. I wish it felt like they were truly on our side instead of blowing smoke up our asses. I know. But again, y'all, we have to work with what's in front of us. If we don't like what's in front of us, cool, then we need to be running for office. All of us, all around the country, need to be running for office. We need to organize and bring about the change that we want and stop expecting those in leadership to do the right thing. They let us down during the Biden years. They perpetually let us down with insufficient promises, insufficient actions. It is only when we come together loudly demanding justice, when we are willing to disrupt the system if we don't get it, that we actually have a process that works. It's us, the people, that have to drive it. So I'm not disagreeing with this sentiment. And anyway, yep, we need to set the expectation that there will be investigations and there will be prosecutions, there will be committee hearings. Yes, set that expectation now, communicate it broadly. We will expect everybody to do their job and to get justice for us. But likewise, don't pretend that they're going to do it on their own. Don't pretend that this is magically going to happen unless we make it happen. It's us, the people, that save us.